I'm really excited and really impressed with the presentation so far, and all the work that Felix put in to make this happen. It took a lot of coordinating. I've actually been in communications about this maybe for maybe a little bit over a month, and so good work, and thank you for putting in this work. So I think Felix deserves a round of applause as well.
What does it mean to be Indigenous for you?
Being Indigenous means being in touch with your roots, right? Wherever those roots may lie, you should all be connected to them, right? You should try to seek those, right? Because beautiful traditions and beautiful cultures make beautiful people, you know what I mean? And so once we start erasing all of those things, once we start forgetting, right? Y'all seen Coco, bro? Like, as soon as you forget something, right? Like as soon as you start forgetting is when things really die, right? And so, you know, we gotta keep honoring those traditions. And for me, the Indigenous traditions are extremely powerful, and when you experience and when you're a part of it, you realize, wow, this is how my ancestors used to live, right? And we still get to practice some of those things. I want to continue that legacy, and I want to share that with youth, and especially with my son. So yeah, that's what it means for me, is being part of community and acknowledging the roots and living, you know, essentially trying to live in one with this earth so that we can all benefit from it, not just one person.
Thank you. That was very inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
This poem is called Mestizo. I am mestizo, a mixture of two worlds. I still wonder who I am, Indio or Español. I hear mariachis and flamenco playing in my head. I see Lord Quetzalcoatl looking down while I'm in bed. I want my own identity between these two worlds because I am mestizo, a mixture of two worlds. I pretend that I'm an Anglo lost in confusion. I feel lost in this life because I'm living in illusion. I touch my face, shaped with Indio features. I worry that the world will see the real me in the future. I cry because I feel like I'm Cortez's conquering sword. I am mestizo, a mixture of two worlds. I understand where I come from, my culture and my land. I say things like Viva la raza and united we stand. I dream that one day our demands will be met. I try to reach world peace, but I am not succeeding yet. I hope society accepts me and the new raza will grow because I am mestizo, a mixture of two worlds. Yo soy el huracán, and the reason why it twirls, I'm the year one reed, and the water that they came from, La Malinche's lonely cry, and the feeling she betrayed them. I want to be free and release my crying soul because I am mestizo, a mixture of two worlds.
My next question. How does being Indigenous affect you, personally and professionally?
Sure, I think oftentimes we, like I said earlier, it was easy for me to pretend like I didn't have any Indigenous roots, right? It was very easy for me to just say, what are you talking about? I speak Spanish, right? and what's reality is I just have two conquering languages, right? We lost our languages. So, you know, one, right, that loss of culture and tradition, right? It's hard to constantly have to convince yourself that part of you is good, right? Two, all I see, the images of like Indigenous folks are like negative images, right? So you constantly grow up thinking that you are bad, right? That you're gonna grow up to be this negative stereotype, right? It's called stereotypes, and it goes like this. Damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, mi nombre es Jose Antonio Enrique Esteban de la Cruz, de la Mancha, de la Chancla. And I will be your stereotype for the evening. You may recognize me from racist films such as Next Friday, the comedy of brown and black folks trying to kill each other, Apocalipto. Oh, that's a big old boat, Holmes. And of course, who can forget the good old classic Cholo Fica, blood in, blood out, carnal. Now, as many of you notice, I'm in like every TV show, flocking the screens of Hollywood like we did the streets of Phoenix, Arizona. Oh no, I don't think I like that gentleman very much. I think I liked her better when he was behind the TV screen. I'm sorry, man. Would you like me to be a different character? Maybe a construction worker, and I can build your empires, or I can be a Latin lover and roll my R's. And I know what you're thinking, man, screw this guy. In the movies, this vato's the one who dies first. The way he collapses to the ground makes it look like it's actually meant to be. But I'm here to tell you that as a recent member of the Actors Union, Holmes, we're here to stay until your depictions of our people begin to change, until the end credits read Tomás de la Cruz instead of Tom Cruise. So watchate, vato, because we're right across the screen, Holmes, and we're coming soon to a city near you. The positive ways, right? I know for a fact that if I'm hungry, my community got me, right? That's something that I've witnessed in every indigenous culture that I've ever encountered with, whether it be in Thailand, whether it be in Africa, whether it be in Mexico, whether it be in the United States. Every single time I was in a gathering with indigenous folks, food was essential. Right? It was almost the reason why folks showed up in the first place, right? Because they was going to eat, and then everything else was kind of secondary, right? But gathering over food has always been important, right? And so that's one thing that I still benefit from to this day. I think having a rich culture and rich traditions is another thing. And lastly, the most important thing is that I feel like being indigenous has made us strong, and has made us enduring, and has made us warriors that keep moving forward.
That was very powerful. The next question I have is, how does it feel to have Indigenous history and heritage to be censored or marginalized?
Well, yeah, that's wild. I think it's pretty bizarre to think that we can literally just erase a people, right, from history. I was fortunate. I went to a bunch of DPS schools, and I went to some schools that were they were pushing the envelope a little bit, and they were kind of allowing us to explore, right? Like instead of just reading like a people's history, right, or history of the U.S., we were reading a people's history of the U.S. by Howard Zinn, where you kind of got a little bit more of an exposure of the real side of that history that oftentimes we didn't learn. I think comparatively, like if you're talking about Colorado versus Arizona, we do a very good job comparatively, right? But we still have a lot of work to do. It hurts to see that. So it also inspires me and it fuels me to continue this work that we're doing now, right? We're educating folks and trying to give them a different outlook so that you can go explore it and figure these things out on your own. So that's, I think that you can let it hurt you and impact you and discourage you, or you can let it, tick you off a little bit and go do something about it, and I think that's the choice that I'm making. I'll be laughing, bro, so you can.
Okay, last question. And then you will have some time to do another little performance, and then if we have room, then we'll have time for a Q&A. The next question is obviously why we're here today. Why is Indigenous Peoples Month important to you?
I think it's always important to acknowledge folks who put in work that got us here in the first place, right? Like for example, the person who put in the work to get this school running and open, etc., they're honored by having their name up in the building. You know what I'm saying? I think we should always do that, and we should always give thanks. Oftentimes, most of the shows that we do, there's always like an acknowledgement of the land, right? Where we're at least giving that back, where we're saying, we understand that this is not ours, that this was never really, and who are we to say that this belongs to us, right? But I think it's really important, because if not, then we're kind of erasing people, and if you look at a lot of indigenous cultures and traditions, they're really beautiful, right? They're sustainable, right? Like they've been doing it so that we can all keep living in harmony for a while. Of course, there's conflict within all peoples, right? But I think if we can always take the good from everything, right? Like we should learn from our mistakes. We should also learn from the things that worked, right? Like we should also maybe not demonize or think that someone else's solutions are wrong before we try them, right? Maybe give it a chance. And I think ultimately, we all want the same thing, right? And this world is complicated, right? This history is complicated. So yes, we should learn the history. Yes, we should acknowledge the history. But also, we should aim to change that history, right? And we should look at how strategies in which we can start shaping history as well. I know that when I was your age, I was like, me changing history, right? It seems impossible, but like for real, like I remember hearing somebody at assembly, and they were actually, it was a ballet company, bro. Like I never danced ballet in my life, but I remember seeing one guy, right? And he was Mexican. So I was like, what? Like, even though I was never interested in doing ballet and wearing tights or whatever, I still thought it was super cool, right? That he got to perform and be on stage, and that's what he did. So he changed my life, and he changed my outcome, right? And so who knows how you can change folks, how you can impact folks, and it starts by acknowledging them, right? It starts by honoring folks who came before us, and also it makes people feel good, right? Like I remember when there was like no Hispanic Heritage Month, right? Everybody was like, Cinco de Mayo, right? Like that was it, right? That was it. And that was the first effort in Denver, at least, I feel like. 16 de septiembre celebration and Cinco de Mayo, right? Denver has one of the largest Cinco de Mayo celebrations in the entire country. It's probably bigger than any celebration in Mexico, to be honest. And so like, you know, those things, it starts like that. And then suddenly you start feeling like you're part of this country again. Suddenly you start hearing your songs on the radio, right? Like now, at first nobody wanted to hear me say anything in Spanish, but now everybody want to rap Bad Bunny songs, you know what I'm saying? Like the KS175 rocking them, all this stuff. So this is a way that we start reclaiming and becoming a part of our own country again, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's really important to honor and to celebrate.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Y'all want to hear some more poems? Yeah. This poem right here is about educating young people, right? Because oftentimes when my mom told me not to act silly or not to, you know, don't, like mom say that, don't be stupid, right? Something like that. My mom would be like, no seas indio, right? Which is kind of like, when you think about it now, it's such a hurtful thing to say, right? Don't be an Indian, right? It's what it translates to. And I just see some of y'all that saw that, and you're like, yeah, my mom used to say that to me too, right? Because there's some that exists in our culture, unfortunately, right? Where we kind of use that as a shameful comparison, right? But so we're trying to change that, you know what I mean? And so it was hard for me to take pride in the indigenous part of our culture. Pero, you know, my mom also was very encouraging at the same time to explore that. And so this poem is about my mother raising me and my father raising me. It is called Whoopins, and it's just to lighten up the mood a little bit también. Anyways, it starts like this. Jose David Guerrero Chavez Galvan! Get your butt inside this house! ¿Qué te dije la última vez, huh? What did I tell you last time? I remember hearing those words and my knuckles clenching like a pair of terrified chipmunks. It was time for a good old whooping. And my parents sounded those out like the sky in Denver hands out snowstorms. My mother's cry was like thunder, cracking the night sky every time I gave her a reason to roar. Whoever said lightning never struck twice in the same place must have never felt my mama's hands. But it wasn't just the hands it did the damage. Oh no. See, my mother had the miraculous ability to transform any object into a weapon, eh? So I watched her mold chanclas into machetes and hairbrushes into grenades. These are our mannerism classes. Lessons that I could recite like the back of my father's hand. See, he used to tell me he would hit me because he loved me. And now he wished that at my age he had parents who cared enough to whoop him when he did something wrong too. Like, quit moving, going on. You're only making it worse. This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. And I believed him every time he said that. I felt the salt in my father's tears splash the wounds he left on my back. And they still sting every time I hear my son cry. So today, I stand here looking at my scars and I ask myself if I want to be the one to give my son his first. And the answer is usually no. Because I know one day he's going to say something that's going to make me want to grab him by his big old ear, but I'll explain to him that in our neighborhoods, whoopings can sometimes feel warmer than a father's hug. And for all the parents out there dealing with the same dilemma, remember, life beats our kids enough as it is. So let's use our hands to help pull them back on their feet instead of beating them down. Thank you.